Hello and welcome to Conversations with Mother Earth, brought to you by Grounded Press. My name is Dana Petrovic, and each week my guests and I explore one aspect of Mother Earth and the gifts that she gives us. We also discuss why these gifts are so precious and why we should value them. We got you curious? Good. We love curiosity. Let's begin. Last week, we dived into oneness in the context of Chinese and Arabic poetry. This week, we are going to dive into the oneness of the deep sea and rivers. And I'll be taking you to a country that also has Arabic as official language and that I fell in love with immediately, the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. So why are rivers and oceans such an ideal topic for conversations with Mother Earth? Well, let's start with the obvious, which is oxygen production, which you and I need to survive, dear listeners. But we also have storage of carbon dioxide, which we call a carbon sink. In addition, oceans regulate the climate and also are popular destinations for our recreational activities. Linked with this are the multi-billion-dollar economies of global tourism, fisheries, and transportation. But oceans are far more than that. They are full of life and they embrace our beautiful planet. I can still vividly remember my father encouraging me as a little girl to dip my hand into the Adriatic Sea so I could connect to the whole world. My guest today is His Excellency Yaseen Khayyat, who had to make numerous decisions about the environment. In his role as the Minister of Environment for the Kingdom of Jordan, he had to walk the tightrope between supporting aquatic tourism and commerce, while at the same time protecting Jordan's delicate ecosystems. Yaseen and I worked together in the past, and he's also passionate about the circular economy. His powerful speech, "One Dead Sea is Enough," has resonated with me ever since. The list of his contributions to the protection of the environment is extremely long and spans decades. Today, Yaseen is Director of Environmental Affairs at the Royal Hashemite Court. Yaseen, a very warm welcome to Conversations with Mother Earth.
Well, thank you, Gordana, for having me on your program today. It's always nice to be with you both in person and virtually as well. I want to congratulate you on the timing of this conversation with Mother Earth, because as we all know, 2021 has been designated by the United Nations as the Year of Nature. This was delayed from 2020 due to COVID-19, of course. And of course, not to mention some of the timing, regarding the timing, that there are some major international events addressing biodiversity in China this month, and also in Glasgow next month, where the climate change conference is happening. So really, it's an opportune time to chart a course for protecting biodiversity everywhere and slowing the climate breakdown over the next decade.
That's correct. A lot is happening at the moment, and I think it's important work that is happening, and important decisions are being made, about the understanding of world around us.
Of course, I mean, there's a lot going on, with the United Nations Environment Program as a whole, a lot of initiatives in place, and a lot of activities as well. And it's all pouring in the same direction, of course, and that is protecting the environment, the ecosystems.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So looking back, Yaseen, at your role as a Minister of Environment in Jordan, tell my listeners, what is that a Minister of Environment does? What is the job of a Minister of Environment?
It's a big job for sure, Gordana. Of course, the minister's job is to implement the law. He's responsible for following up on the implementation of the environmental legislation in the country, in addition to other, of course, national laws that are in place. And being a member of the cabinet, of course, is responsible. It reports back to the prime minister himself. So he's responsible for answering to parliament with regard to any cases that they may bring up, to do with any environmental issue there is. And aside from that, there's the day-to-day follow-up, of course. And I did mention that he's responsible for the implementation of the environmental legislation of the country. Yeah, definitely. So it's and the most important is also that the Ministry of Environment is the focal point for all the international conventions. So we follow up very closely on all the conventions that we are party to, and there are quite few of them actually. Now maybe I remember there were 16 of them, aside from the major ones, the climate change, biodiversity, and so on and so forth. So it's a tough job, and it requires a lot of attention and persistence for sure.
Yeah, of course, it's not easy. What were some of the toughest decisions you had to make when you look back?
Well, there are quite few of them. Well, going back, I recall some of the local challenges we are facing in Jordan, such as waste management issues, littering, plastic pollution, and scarcity of water, and others, of course. The one that required most attention was waste management, because this comes under the mandate of the Ministry of Environment, of course, and also combating littering in both the marine and the terrestrial environments. So it was necessary to do something comprehensive about this issue. We started doing a framework law for waste management after realizing that waste in general is addressed in a scattered fashion, and there are about 13 different entities involved in managing waste in the country. So that was done after a long battle with Parliament, and the fight was won at the end. So in parallel to this, a comprehensive awareness campaign through the use of available media was carried out, targeting the public at large, with special focus on schools and universities. We did this for about 18 months, yet it's a challenge to resume the campaign in the very near future. And during the last cabinet post as Minister of Environment, that was 2016-2018, when the government was implementing an updated version of the environment law and the new biodegradable plastics bylaw, I had to take legal actions to shut down several plastic product manufacturers. for
Wow.
non-compliance reasons. It was a hard one, very hard one,
Yeah.
because there was many of them, and considering the fact that we are, as you know, a developing country with economic hardship. So in comparison, this may not have been hard of a decision in a developed country itself, but that was one of the toughest decisions I had to make. But it was for the sake of the environment, for the sake of the country, and basically, one has to implement the law in order to really to have the other entities comply, basically. So that was, in short, that was one of the toughest decisions I had to make.
Well, you didn't make many friends with that decision. I mean, you did among the NGOs, but among some of the companies, you were not the most favorite politician.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, the environmental NGOs were very happy about this, of course, and they're the biggest supporters for sure. They're the biggest supporters to the environment, to the Ministry of Environment. Yeah. So that's what happened.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, it is really a tough decision. And what prompted you to make the powerful speech, "One Dead Sea is enough"?
Oh, my favorite topic. Yeah. Well, Verdana, pollution by plastics in all environmental compartments, terrestrial, aquatic, and marine, is, as we all know it, a disastrous issue. I spent considerable time brainstorming the severity of this impact on the marine environment with my staff, and thought that we really, really need to put out a strong message to the world as a permanent reminder of this horrible, horrible problem. So I basically took advantage of a major international event that was happening at a Dead Sea resort. And I invited the media to witness what I was about to do there. And we made this big size floater from plastic bottles. It was quite big. And we threw it in the water, And I stood there and I gave my message right there on the spot. One dead sea is enough. And that was enough for sure. But it was, I don't know, more of a spontaneous decision, a spontaneous initiative, actually, that just, came up while brainstorming the issue of plastics in the marine environment, and it worked. I was very happy about it, and it worked. But this is a never-ending story. I mean, we really need to keep going with this. We really need to keep reminding everyone around the world about this plastic issues, plastic problems in the marine, in all the environmental compartments, of course. So yeah, that's how it happened, really.
Yeah, definitely. We have to go to the source, just like with rivers, we have to go to the source of the plastic as well, because now it's not only a river of plastics, it's literally an ocean, because it's literally everywhere.
Yes.
But you mentioned something interesting earlier about the water scarcity, and Jordan, of course, is among countries that is on the water scarcity list. And how did your decisions, for example, affect the Jordan River Valley, which is one of the extraordinary beautiful spots in Jordan? Is there any improvement, or
regarding
the water supply to the farmers, because this is a livelihood for parts of Jordan?
Yes, well, unfortunately, I mean, the River Jordan, which we share with the west side of our neighbors, Israel. Its water has been diverted over the years by Israel for their agricultural interests or agricultural interests. And it's unfortunate to see it now as a very small stream of water running along the bed of the river, the stretch of the river. It's not as it used to be, I mean, ages ago, and I'm talking about, I don't know, tens and tens of years ago or more. Of course, this is a very special site, as you know. I mean, the River Jordan, this is where Jesus Christ was baptized, and the baptism site is there. It's a big issue. It's a big deal, really. But its waters, well, with regard to its waters, it's very unfortunate. Now, as we said, the water scarcity is an issue in Jordan, and we have to rely a lot on underground water. And this is also depleting. I mean, it's not going to last for a very long time. Nowadays, we are pumping water from the deep south of the country to feed the capital and elsewhere and other parts of the country. It's a long way, and we don't have any other resources at the moment. I mean, for the future, we really have to do something about desalination. We have to desalinate water. We have to go through the project of pumping water from the Red Sea to the Dead Sea, actually, and then have desalination plants along the way where the saline water would be pumped to the Dead Sea, and then fresh water as a result of desalination can be used, elsewhere in the country. So it's a serious issue. Every year, every summer, we have to worry about this. We have to worry about water because there isn't enough. And of course, if we want to take into account the issue of the refugees and the influx of the refugees over the past years as a result of the wars, in the region, this influx really created a huge impact on Jordan with regard to water in general.
Yeah, Jordan shouldered the majority of Syrian refugees, and it is indeed. Yaseen, you mentioned this kind of earlier, but maybe you have more examples. How is it for you to walk this tightrope between economic progress and ecosystem protection? To find a balance between supporting the economy and protecting the environment? Well,
Verdana, I must admit that I am biased towards the environment. So which includes ecosystem protection, of course. We know that social economy develops in a unparalleled speed. It increases the consumption of renewable resources, sorry, and the pressure to protect ecological environment. During office, we have developed a national green growth plan that is in line with national objectives of economic, social, and environmental performance. And this plan covered six major sectors: energy, water, waste, agriculture, tourism, and transportation. Yeah, I think you've been exposed to this during your visit to Jordan.
Yeah.
Now, it is an ambitious plan and a very interesting one as well. Of course, it's a big one, because it involved all these sectors that I mentioned, and all the details of which are available on the website of the Ministry of Environment. Here I need to clarify that because Jordan is a developing country, I'd say environmental issues are still on the back burner, okay, while priorities are given to the economy,
Yes.
particularly in the aftermath of COVID-19. Okay, now we hope to look forward. We hope to go forward with this and certainly take into account circular economy as well in the equation. But it's not easy. I would say that, okay, like I said, I'm biased to environment, but what is happening at the moment is that we are more focus, more attention is given to the economy, of course, as a priority. So
yeah,
it's a tough one. It's a very tough one. So.
Yeah, it's tough time to. First of all, we have to put food on the table.
Exactly.
It can foremost, yeah. Even if it's sometimes short-term thinking, but we are hungry now and cannot wait till into the future. When you look back at your time in the government, Yaseen, now this is, of course, with the benefit of hindsight, what would you change?
Well, as we all know, public perception is crucial where environmental matters are concerned. Okay, whether these matters are minor or major ones. So changing the perception of society at large is not easy, and is a challenge that needs zooming in on through more awareness campaigns, training and education at all levels, especially the younger generation. It's important for the younger generation to learn about the consequences of climate change and the deterioration of ecosystems around the world, so as they would manage better than our generation.
Yeah.
In addition to this, I must say that we, and I mentioned this earlier, that we should revisit our priorities and learn from the experiences and initiatives of others that are happening now and have been happening for some time. Again, I would look closely at the works of the United Nations Environment Program. For example, like the living in harmony with nature. It's a wonderful initiative that was put forward. And there are others, of course, other initiatives. So to be more specific in answering your question, I would certainly encourage more recycling and reuse of everything possible. I would really, refocus on this or reinitiate this, from the beginning. Or so, in other words, make a circular economy a way forward, basically.
Yeah.
What I would do, if I found to change.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And there is also so much old wisdom in Jordan. There is so much old knowledge because nomadic people in the desert couldn't generate waste. They were on a move. They couldn't. So yeah. There's so much knowledge in the country itself that we also can harness because it's a very old culture.
Yes, for sure, because we believe we have very strong human resources here. And we always pride ourselves on this. We're very rich with human resources that, they are all over the Arab world, of course. Jordanians are everywhere in the Arab world.
Yes.
working in the different sectors, so whether the private or public sectors, and they are huge contributors, or they have been over the years. Yes, we are very proud of this, and it's just a question of you know being in this part of the world and being in the middle of in the region where there's so many things are happening, many problems are happening, unfortunately. So it's not as easy, and all that we're very affected economically, as you know, and but this is the key question here: is the economic impact, and then the results of that down the road affects everything else that we are doing, basically, and it affects all the decisions that we need to take with regard to the environment as a whole.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned this earlier, the economic progress, especially after COVID, these are challenging times for everyone around the world. However, there are still governments that pass regulations to protect the deep sea, to protect the very delicate ecosystem that is deep under the water. For example, New Zealand banned drilling for fossil fuels near its shores, which of course means an economic sacrifice short-term for long-term survival maybe. So when you look at that as yourself as a politician, when you have to make these decisions, what can we as citizens do to support our governments when they have to make these decisions? And of course, what is that we have to sacrifice, or understand that we might need to sacrifice in order to have a long-term pristine nature around us, which of course impacts our health.
I mean, I believe that we should do a lot of awareness campaigns, and at the same time lobby governments as citizens to have stringent standards for protection of marine life, if you want to focus on marine life, in addition to compliance to the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, in particular the SDG 14, Life Below Water, and SDG 13 as well, to do with climate change. Usually, as you know, offshore, you mentioned offshore drilling operations undergo strict impact assessments and quantified risk assessments as well, where the standards are quite high and assuring where the public is concerned. But I really believe that yes, I mean, lobbying through pressure groups is essential, is important. And
join forces with the civil society like NGOs and rally around this topic, so that you have you feel the support from the public. It's not just your decision is carried by many, which of course makes it easier for the legislation to pass. Yes, it's there are lots of regulations that are reassuring, yet leaks happen, just like a few days ago, affecting marine life and killing a lot of marine animals. So this is always the balance we have to find. We all want to drive cars and get from A to B, yet at the same time, this might affect our environment.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very true. And it differs from one country to another, but at the end of the day, we all aim at one thing, and that is the protection of the environment, whether the terrestrial environment or the marine environment. We have this goal, and I think and it's growing. I'm very happy to see that it is growing. The pressure is growing. The lobby groups are growing, and I like it. And a few days ago, I learned of this pressure group that is made up of ladies, and I said, wow, well, this is interesting. What are they doing? And now they are putting a lot of pressure on the government, on the Ministry of the Environment in particular, regarding the issue of waste. All kinds of waste, but mainly they're focusing on the littering issue because we still have problems with this. Unfortunately, it's improving, but it's going slowly. But so this group of ladies, and they're quite powerful, I tell you, very persuasive in what they're doing.
Good for
And
them.
yeah, and they're doing a good job. They just did a few days ago. They did this big gathering in Madaba, close by,
Yeah.
Madaba, and I was invited. They invited me, so I was lucky. I was lucky. They liked me from the days when I was minister and from what I did back then. So and they asked me for my support, and I said, I support you all the way. Go for it. Do what you have to do. They have a program. They have targets to meet, and they're aiming at, of course, pressuring the government to do more regarding violators, who are violating or littering everywhere here and there. So, but it's succeeding. It's working. I like it. So, I mean, this is just an example I wanted to mention, especially that it's all, a group of ladies. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, well, it's really laudable on so many levels. I mean, this is a post-COVID world, and it was very difficult for these ladies to get through that, and to summon the courage now to go out and have a plan and have a care about littering is exceptional. So good for them. Bravo.
Yeah, then you have social media is helping a lot, actually, because everyone has access to social media.
Yes.
And so it's there are no restrictions there, and so they're doing a good job.
Yeah, very good, awesome. Yaseen, you and I could talk for a long time. As we know from our conversations in the past, you and I believe in the same. We believe in a clean environment and prosperity for all. We want to protect our world we live in, yet at the same time keep jobs and people contributing and empowered and growing. So we could go on and on.
Right.
But my listeners, after today listening to you, I'm sure my listeners would also like to have a conversation with you or contact you. Where can they find you?
Well, my contact details are available. I'm on LinkedIn. I can be contacted there, or through email. I can give my email address right now. It's very easy. It's Yaseen Khayyat, one word, Yaseen, YASEEN KHAYYAT @gmail.com. And so it's easy to find me. It's not going to be difficult, and I will be happy to talk to any of the listeners. I thank you again, Gordana, for hosting me on the conversation with Mother Earth, and I look forward to conversing with your listeners anytime in the near future, and with you, of course. I mean, we're always in touch.
Let's hope. Thank you so much for joining today, Yaseen, and sharing your wisdom with you and your, of course, decades of work in this area. And of course, I do hope that my husband and I will be able to visit your beautiful, magical country soon. We love it both so much. It's a truly magical place. I really recommend to your listeners to check out Jordan.
Thank you, Gordana. We look forward to seeing you here in Jordan again sometime in the future.
Thank you so much. This concludes today's conversation with Mother Earth, brought to you by Grounded Press. Next week, we will stay in the flow in a sense. My next interview partner grew up in Germany, but he has been living in New York because serendipity brought him there. Stay tuned.